So fillers are apparently out. BBL culture is declining. Trying to have that perfect hourglass figure like popular Fashion Nova model Jody Jo is no more. Style looks that lean more towards the clean girl or the minimalist look or the trending old money aesthetic. Dressing modestly with only hints of sexiness seems to be the more popular style choice now. Simple and clean makeup looks are now preferred over full glam looks. I'm pretty sure most of us are well versed in what that stereotypical baddie culture looked like. That Instagram model appearance that honestly pressured a whole lot of women into feeling like that was the only way that you could be a successful influencer. You had to have the perfect pouty lips. You had to have the perfect contoured makeup look every single day, the perfect form-fitting clothing. Stereotypical baddie culture, I feel like, is directly tied to just that ultimate sex appeal, and brands capitalized off of this. When we look at brands like Fashion Nova and we look at Pretty Little Things, which were two heavy hitters for that ultimate sex appeal. Now, actually, let me backtrack, because when I talk about Pretty Little Things, I'm talking about rebrand, okay? Because we all know they're under a lot of scrutiny right now for the change, the rebrand, and that's just not a topic that we're going to, elaborate on today. Those two brands specifically were directly associated to giving that perfect Instagram model appearance. They were directly associated to the stereotypical baddie. But oh, how times are changing. I am one of the ones on the list who is super excited about this finally evolving. When we think about, again, the stereotypical baddie, honestly, let's just say the word baddie. When we think about the word baddie, we automatically have always thought the girl that had the most sex appeal, the Instagram model, but it's so much more than that now. When we think about what it is to be a baddie or an it girl, we have to start looking at the women who are just everyday women, because those are the women who are really shifting the narrative when it comes to what a baddie is or what it means to be an it girl. It's these women who give everyday woman vibe, or they give that girl next door vibe, who are becoming the bigger influencers, and they're helping to shift the narrative or redefine what it means to be an it girl, or redefine what it means to be a baddie. And we're not just talking about being that on social media. We're talking about you knowing that that's who you are in real life. So these are women who are pushing a different narrative. They're pushing the fact that no, you don't have to sell sex or look sexy all the time. No, you don't have to wear extensions or get your hair bleached or do this and that. I've seen so many everyday women that are rocking their grays, and it's even inspiring me, because I know y'all could probably go back on a lot of my videos and see my gray hairs, and I decided to go back black. But it's these women who are helping to redefine and shift the narrative. So how are they doing it? How are these everyday women who probably wouldn't have gotten a second glance probably 5-10 years ago, how are they redefining and shifting the narratives that have been in place for so long? Well, the first thing that I feel like we have to acknowledge is consumer viewership. Internet has changed. Social media has changed, and the way that we perceive social media has changed. Simply put, social media evolved and people got tired of being lied to. They didn't want the lies. They didn't want the fakeness that was being pushed with all of these different aesthetics. They didn't want it anymore. And I can agree with this, because as a consumer of content, I think I even noticed a shift within myself that at some point I didn't want to see that kind of perfect, put together content anymore. And I just wanted to see people in their, environments just naturally being themselves. Me and TikTok have a love-hate relationship, but I will say I feel like when TikTok really blew up, that's when the shift really happened, and when social media really began to evolve. People were just picking up their cameras, talking, doing whatever they wanted to do in the moment, and that is where people began to really pay attention to, oh, okay, this is how this person truly acts. Maybe some of this other stuff was, froth. It was fake. It was just lies. When that ban almost went through in January, what happened? A lot of people thought that TikTok was going away. So they thought that that was their chance to clear their conscience and say, oh, well, I was lying during this time. I wasn't really doing some of this, or I was buying this stuff and I was taking it back. And then that just further exposed the truth about social media, that a lot of people were just trying to buy all of these items and live this life, and they really couldn't afford it and they couldn't keep up. It was just all for show. So there's two sides to this, right? We have the side where the viewership started changing, but then we had the side where the content creators started changing as well. So obviously, we're talking about being baddies and everyday women and it girls. So it was the beauty content creators who really started shifting. I don't think it's a coincidence at all that over the last several years, we have really noticed a shift in beauty content creators and how they are stepping away from some of these extreme beauty routines. Look at some of the top rated influencers, or look at some of the top rated entertainers that are out there who pushed this narrative, oh, you should get these things done to give that perfect appearance. They are turning their backs on everything that they told us to do. A lot of them are turning their backs on lip fillers. Now, if there was one thing that we could point out about that perfect Instagram model look or that perfect baddie look, was lip fillers. They are turning their backs. They are getting their lip fillers dissolved. BBL culture, look at the amount of women who have turned their backs on that. They regret their decision to get it, or they're deciding to get some of the stuff taken out or balanced out, or however they do it. I don't know. Look at the amount of people who are turning their backs. Botox. A lot of the Gen Zers who were getting Botox early on, I feel like that's probably why people are saying that they look older, because a lot of that stuff, when you put it into your skin, you put it into your face, if you're not continuing with it, they get what's called like puffy face. So then your face starts drooping or it's looking saggy because you're not having those fillers to stretch that skin out. They turn their backs against the beauty standards. And honestly, I feel like it's because they probably can't even keep up with the beauty standards anymore. Like, they have the money to do so, but you just get to a point where the bar is set so high. It's like, okay, do I even want to be here? Is this how I want to look? Or am I looking this way to fit in? And I feel like a lot of people are wanting their uniqueness back. They want their own identity back. So they're going against all of these beauty standards that are put out there. And they're saying, no, I don't want it anymore. There's a rise in authenticity, more so now than probably ever that we've seen on social media at all. There is a rise of authenticity and being yourself naturally. Now, yes, some people have had work done. Okay, they've had it done, but we can't keep them at that point in life where they decided to make that decision. Some people have evolved and they're realizing, maybe I didn't want to do those things to myself. You can tell the shift. Blac Chyna was a great example of that. Yes, she had some of her work, undone. She, I think, deflated her lips as well, or dissolved, whatever the word is. I mean, she's a great example because you can look at her and you can see that she is a changed woman. You can't keep somebody where they are in the past. You have to let them evolve as well. And that is where a lot of people are in life right now. They're just evolving into different versions of themselves. And I think that's a beautiful thing, but it is pushing this narrative of authenticity into our social media world. And I think that is a beautiful thing to see. A lot of people just embracing their natural beauty and not feeling like they have to fit the standards. Two women that I can think of off the top of my head, A. Wilkie and Justina's camera roll. I feel like two young women, and I have to say young women because y'all, I got some years on both of them. But anyway, these are two young women who I feel like are really shifting the narrative of what a baddie can look like. Neither one of them give typical or stereotypical Instagram baddie. Both of them really embrace being who they are naturally. And I think that is the narrative that needs to continue. Embracing who you are, showing up as you are, not feeling like you always have to have a ton of makeup, not feeling like you always have to have extensions, like I said earlier, or having the perfect highlighted hair. You can show up. You don't have to always look sexy. You don't always have to have body showing. It is just something beautiful about showing up as you are in your uniqueness. That's why both of those young women have been able to gain the following that they have. And it seems like their following and their growth happened overnight. They made a personal connection with their viewers based off of them being authentically themselves. Because think about it, we just want to, as human beings, we want to connect with other people. We want to be able to relate to people who have gone through the similar situations, similar circumstances. It is that emotional connection that we yearn for. Why else would we yearn for relationships, marriage, to be with someone? We naturally, at our core, yearn for connection. We probably don't realize it, but we desire having those same kind of connections with the people that we watch or the people that we're friends with as well. So when we're on social media, we want somebody that gives that girl next door vibe. We want somebody that feels like a best friend that you're sitting on the couch talking to, like a sister that you're calling up to get advice from. We want that same connection, even if it's somebody that we're probably never going to meet in life. Let's look at an emotional vibration chart real quick. You can pull up any one off Google. I'll probably put one on the screen, but just any of them will probably feature some of the same words. But just look at some of these positive emotions as you ascend upward on the chart. So you have things like security, acceptance, humility, patience, service, generous, radiance, confidence, and trust. It's these emotions right here, right? It's these characteristics that have you leaning a little bit more towards that everyday woman, leaning more towards her than the stereotypical baddie, because here you find more of an emotional connection. You feel more comfortable with these people because you can see all of them, which allows you to say, hey, I connect with that. I resonate with that. This person understands what I'm going through. You may look to the stereotypical baddie for outfit inspo or makeup inspo. And honestly, let me just put this here. You can still watch some of those women and still create an emotional connection with them as well, because some women who create that style of content, they do show their vulnerability and they do show that they're actual human beings. So a lot of them have been able to create these mass followings. But all I want you to understand is that you are naturally going to be drawn more to the person who triggers you emotionally. And I feel like that is why this everyday woman is making a shift in the industry, and they are becoming the ones who are more popular because you can see that they are everyday women just like you are. And if you've been paying attention, you will notice brands have also been picking up on this as well. The everyday woman is starting to become the go-to woman for a lot of these brands. They want that simple, maybe aesthetic, maybe no aesthetic at all look. They want the girl that just has her phone. They want the girl who can just be naturally herself. You can tell that the pitch is not forced or that it's scripted. She just gets on there and she can naturally draw you in because of her personality, because of her vulnerability, because you can see that she's a human being, not a robot or not someone who is trying to appear to be perfect. And I learned this the hard way. I was the girl that thought that you had to be perfect. You had to show up and give a production. Everything had to be filmed on a camera because the quality on the phone is not good enough. I have experienced it firsthand. They don't want perfect. They don't want heavily edited. They want you as your natural self. So not only is it this push for authenticity, but I feel like the everyday woman is really bringing back what real confidence looks like. Not this purchased confidence that we have seen so much over the last few years. When someone possesses a real natural confidence about themselves, things like humiliation don't exist. The ego doesn't exist. You cannot embarrass somebody who has a real confidence about themselves. When we're talking about confidence and we're looking at the everyday woman, personally, I feel like the everyday woman is embodying that true confidence. Now, not to say that the everyday woman is not a beautiful woman, because most times they are very beautiful women. They're beautiful inside and out. But the difference between the everyday woman is she does not rely simply on her looks to get her through life. She could probably play the pretty privilege card whenever she wants to, right? She could probably use that card to finesse the hell out of somebody, get the job, get the boyfriend. She could really play that card if she wants to, but she does not rely on her looks. She has a confidence about herself that comes from within, not because of the things that are on the outside. She desires for people to respect her based off of her intellect, based off of her perspectives on lives, her ideas, her creativeness. She does not rely on just being pretty to get the point across. So when you have a confidence like that, where you don't even have to rely on your looks, that is what people want. That is what people are drawn to, and that's what people want to learn how to have for themselves. This is a woman who doesn't allow her ego to get in the way either, because you have to think about it. Ego is what drives us a lot of the times to make the decisions that we make. So when we feel like we're not a part of the girls' club, our ego says, well, do these things to fit in. And if you are not sure of who you are as a person and what your core values are, you guys have probably heard me say that word a lot, core values. Well, 2 words. But anyway, when you are not sure of who you are, your ego will get in the way, and your ego will push you to do things that really probably don't align with who you are, so that you can feel like you're included. But a woman who is sure of herself and who embodies natural confidence, they don't have an issue with their ego. Hell, somebody could probably try to break their ego and it would not break them, because their ego is not in the way of their progression in life. You can be proud of who you are and proud of the way that you look, but when you are prideful about it, that actually lowers your chance of living a fulfilling life, because let's not forget, things can change just like that. And I wouldn't want to be prideful in just my looks or rely solely on my looks to allow me to navigate throughout my life. I just cannot do that. Now let's get one thing straight. I did not make this video to bash or put down the stereotypical baddie. If that is how you want to present yourself, honey, do you. You are a whole grown woman. You can do whatever you want to. You can be whatever you want. You can show up however you want. But I do feel that there's a lot that can be learned from this new definition of what it means to be a baddie, and this new shift that has happened with these everyday women who are really stepping up and showing us that we can be it girls and baddies without having to look the traditional part. We're being reminded that effortless beauty and individuality do still exist. I cannot tell you how many videos I have come across here lately where people are like, we all look the same. We all act the same. We all wear the color beige. The world is becoming neutral. Like, there are so many videos out there right now where it is pinpointing that because of some of these standards that were put in place early on, that everybody has the same exact look. Whereas now, with this increase and this rise of the everyday woman, we're being reminded you can have uniqueness about yourself. You don't have to have the fillers. You don't have to have the Botox. You don't have to have the hair down to your ass crack. I know that that's probably, a little vulgar, but I'm just saying, because that is the truth. You don't have to have these things to be considered an it girl. You can give it girl presence, it girl energy, and all of that just by simply being yourself. Your uniqueness, your individuality. I'm sure at some point we've probably all gotten sucked into the vortex of lies when it comes to social media. I have no shame in admitting that. I was the one who used to show up and try to appear to be perfect. I felt like I had to have makeup perfectly placed every single time I turned my camera on. I had to have the perfect aesthetic pictures. And I just could not for the life of me really connect with it and really keep it going, because I knew deep down that wasn't me. That wasn't how I wanted to present myself. I honestly, I felt like it was high school all over again, being in a popularity contest, trying to have the most people who like you. It's just, There's just something so beautiful about the movement that's taking place with these women who are going back to their uniqueness instead of looking like these copy-paste versions of all of the influencers that we've seen over time. This shift is empowering women to show up as themselves online and in real life. The baddie is evolving. And it's about damn time. Well, that's the chai tea for today. I hope y'all enjoyed today's video. Make sure y'all check me out on some of my other social platforms. The links are down below. Or if you don't feel like getting off YouTube, go ahead and check this video out next.